First of all, very welcome to Santiago, Chile. From this remote part of the world, I'll try in this next hour to give you the recipe in order to have a success in doing business in Latin America. And I will focus mainly on the cultural part. In no way I'm trying to teach anybody how to make business, because you know very well how to do it, but some aspects in the cultural side I think that will be interesting. As you can see here, there's the agenda. I will highlight some definitions for better understanding, and I will, of course, that's the main topic, to try to tell you why culture is so important. The obligation to find allies, and at the end I will say a valid slogan to do business here in Latin America. It's under promise and over deliver. Now we're at page number 3. Some definitions about what we understand for culture and for Hispanic. Culture comes from the cultura, the Latin word cultura, and it talks about values, standards, and all the practices shared by the community. And Hispanic, this was a term used from a long time ago when the conquistadores came, and conquistadores and people coming from Portugal. So this was the house of ancient Hispania from the times of the Romans in the Iberian Peninsula. And in modern times we speak, or we talk about the Hispanic Latin America, and these are the countries compound from Mexico down to the Patagonia. Now we'll go for slide number 4, importance of culture. The Latino culture is very, very livable. We give quite a lot of importance to the families, to our friends, and to the community. And of course, because we're happy people, this is a land of happiness, Latin America. We're happy people because of the climate and the relations and how we talk and how we party in a way. We enjoy many. People say that we always are looking for excuses to have a party, and in a way that's right. We are happy, and there are many religious, for example, festivities, and they are very popular and very colorful. And if you want to work here, you should learn about this, because it's a time of festivity. It's a time of remembering somebody or something unique or something special for the country you're visiting. And I will go a little bit back in order to just to point out that this continent or this part of the world have certain traditions coming from many years ago, like the Mayans, for example. 150 years before Christ, 1,500 before Christ, there was the Mayan civilization. And why I'm talking about this old Mayan civilization, we'll go for the Mayas, the Aztecs, and the Incas, because there are still many cities or many communities who are coming from those origins. And you have to think, when conquistadores came and found America, there was people living with some of them very sophisticated technologies, or some very sophisticated way of thinking, and a culture that still remains. If you come, for example, to Mexico and to enjoy the Caribbean, then you can find places like Tulum, Chichen Itza, where you can find still some remains of the astronomy calendar and very sophisticated buildings, as temples, as pyramids, and still people who believe in their civilization and they're very proud of it. And in a way, it's good to know there's people who were many, many years before the conquistadores arrived to the continent, and they have their own traditions, and they have their own way of thinking. What happened to the Mayan civilization? Nobody knows exactly what happened, but the Mayans are still there. The government and the organization fall away. Nobody exactly knows why. Maybe it was diseases, maybe it was a great catastrophe, shortage of water. There's not a clear, let's say, clear definition of why it happened. But the Mayan civilization disappeared, but it remains in many ways a part of the Mexican culture or the Central American culture. The Aztecs also were very important. If you ever go to Mexico City, you will have a wonderful museum there where you can see in a scale all how the Mexican society was built at that time. Markets, roads, technologies, how the power was managed, and how they distribute their land to the people. The land of the Tenochcas was called. It was a very sophisticated society. You could see the grounds where they played, the stadiums. So why I'm saying this, or why I'm enhancing this part of the ancient culture here, because some of them are still there. The Incas, for example, coming from Ecuador down to Chile, mainly in the northern part of Chile, but they were very powerful in Cusco. If you ever come here, you will find a society that is very hierarchical. All Latin America is very hierarchical. And that's why I want to emphasize that it doesn't come from only the times from the Spanish Empire. It comes from the times of the Incas, Mayas, and Aztecs. So the society is very hierarchical. It's a pyramid where the priests at a certain time, the kings or the Inca were in the upper part. And then when the Spaniards came, they came with the same way of doing, or let's say, organizing the government, very hierarchical. And it's people from other countries like Europe or the US could maybe not really understand this very well because they're more democratic, more, let's say, in a way, in a mechanism of check and balance. Here, we have somebody has to be in charge, and the rest of the people try to obey. Things are changing, but that's something you have to keep in mind. It's not only from this century, it comes from a long time ago. So that's why families, traditions, networking, it's so important. Latin America is a whole, and it's very different from depending where the country you arrive or where the country you are going to make business. It's very different, let's say, Venezuela from Chile or Ecuador from Uruguay. And it's a matter that this continent, it's not flat. It's full of forest, big lakes, rivers, jungles, and there are people who in different regions speak different languages and have different traditions. One of the things you may initially tempted to think that why it's so different when they were all conquered by the Spaniards, so we mostly speak Spanish, we're mostly Catholics, but the difference because of the geography, or because of the temperature of the ancient cultures, we are very different from each country to another. So even the way the people look, the way the people dress, the music, it's very different from one country to another. And that's something sometimes people, it's hard for them to understand because say, well, this is a Latin American country, so almost everybody should be alike, and that's not real. When you do business, and I again say, you know very well how to do business, dear colleagues. So I will think something it's very important is to find allies. When you arrive to a country, it doesn't matter which country in Latin America, you have to understand what they are looking for, understand the market, what are the needs of the country, and what would they expect from you as a trade show organizer, as a builder, or somebody who is doing business here in this area. And consider that every country is particular. As I told you, they differ one from another. And what you are trying to bring to the country you are going to make business is to improve the quality of, let's say, trade shows, of construction sites, or what you are doing. Latin America expect when somebody coming from abroad, let's say from Europe, Asia, or the States, or whatever, foreigners are very welcome in a way, and they are expected to give a very good quality service. So when you come here, bring your best standards, and you will find good people when you're looking for allies, good people and good partners. Be sure that you know and investigate who are your partners. Try to find as much information as you can, because as everywhere, there are certain good people and certain not that good people. There are bad people also. But here in Latin America, connections are very, very, very important. You have to know if the company who you're going to get involved with have the right connections, have the right background, has the good connections to the rest of the environment, or has a good networking process, and who is who. In Latin America, who is very important. Who is who? The family, the time on the business. So consider that on when you're planning your entering to this market. And think always that Latin America expect a long-lasting relation. Every country here don't want to see people doing business in 24 hours and getting away. They want you to be here. They want you to have partners. Think in the long time. Think in the way that, let's say, how to make durable relations with your partners. And I will just give you some pictures, as you see in slide number 10, how Kallman, let's say, who has been in a way successful here in Latin America, because we have established good relations with the people from the different countries we're working with. As an example, you can see here, this doesn't come from the blue, let's say. Kallman developed a strategy in order to get in touch with the important people of the country and try to understand what are the needs, which are the most important things for the country in particular we're visiting. Can be Peru, can be Colombia, can be Brazil, can be Chile. And here are some highlights I want to show you, because how we understood the market, or how we understood the interest of the country. As example, we have here Rebuild Chile. After 75 days, we had a big earthquake and tsunami in the country that destroyed almost 2/3 of the country. Immediately, my company, Kallman Company, came here and offered the president a trade show to bring, let's say, industry that could help to rebuild Chile. And of course, that created a good tie with the government, a good tie with the people, because the people saw a company coming from outside to help them. With no major interest, major interest in doing business, taking the money or whatever. Of course, there was some business, and that's the idea, to make business. Trade shows are for doing business. But to be at the exact time, it was very, very useful for our future connections. As you see, we've been working with electrical shortage in Chile for a long time, building relations with different American chambers of commerce in Brazil, in Peru, in Colombia, wherever we do business. We try to find these good allies who know the market and who can give you advice of what's going on. On the expectation management, Kallman got involved. For example, here we have a slide where we have one of the biggest or the largest shows in defense in Latin America called FIDAE. In FIDAE, we make for the first time last year a conference for IATA. These are ICAO people from the civil aviation. We got with them in connection in order to do a big conference, and was very successful. Of course, we had two great partners, ICAO and the Chilean Air Force, and this was a truly international business gathering where people from all airlines around the world came here to listen about safety or about important topics for the civil aviation. We have long-time connections with different, in this case, of the defense industry, as we have in the mining industry, as we have in the energy industry. And we try to bring our customers as much business as we can. We try to give them intelligence on what's going on and how to make business. And that's one of the things that we care. We care. And as it says here in slide number 12, we care and we get connected to the people. This is called social responsibility, corporate social responsibility, and maybe in other countries it's not that important. But in a poor country like in my country or in the rest of the Latin American countries, to see somebody coming from outside with a big heart and intentions to get in touch with the community, it's very important. Here we have, you can see, we have support local charities like WAR. WAR, it's a place where we help. That it's a building where we are talking about who, let's say, allow families coming from faraway cities whose children are treated by cancer and they don't have the place to stay, and we help in that house. We give Hogar de Cristo, that's a charity for the poor people who are in the streets. And we try in a way, Kallman, even it's an American company, try to identify those local traditions, like the pisco sour, that's very common in Peru, it's very common in Chile. We try to do with our wines, let's say, to realize that the people who are coming to a friendly country and try to provide them with a local, let's say, taste. And we do in all our shows that connection. We try to, it's in number 13, give high standards. Whatever we do, we try to improve whatever has been done in the past. So that keeps in mind of the people who are attending the show, or the organizers, or who are anyone who is making deals with us, that really Kallman cares, and we really care about the design, about our looking after our stakeholders, and having the best connections we can for our customers. And because of that, we have good relations with the government, with the stakeholders, and everyone who is interested in our trade shows. In number 14, you can see some U.S. government officials. Yes, we have very good connections with the embassies. Embassies are very important for us. The Department of Commerce of the U.S. has helped us all around the world. You can see some pictures of some important people there. Our team, of course, we are, as any one of my dear colleagues, we are used to work for our customers. We have a really high standard on customer care. First in, last out, like the Marines. You know, we are there in order to build this whatever trade show we are, to attend our customers and to make them feel at home. We try to have them connected to the local people and try to make of our shows a festivity, something good to be in, good for business, good for the people, have happy people, and enjoy the community. And on the area of long-term success, our company has invested heavily in, for example, this beautiful building you see there. The 11th floor is ours because we needed to have a presence, not being birds that nest and go away. We give the Chilean government, in this case, and in other places, that we are there for a long time. We are and they had to be confident in our decisions or in our way we're doing business, because we're a long-lasting company in the countries we are. Here we have just recently, there's a major of one of the main producers here in Santiago. We donated a flagpole. Flagpole is important? No, it's not that important, but it's a gesture. Of course, the major offered us all his facilities for next conferences or whatever it's needed. And we have a very nice team. We get along very well, and we're very happy to be in this part of the world, representing companies such as such as Kallman. Referring to business opportunity in slide number 16. As I told you before, every country in Latin America is different from the other. Sometimes geographical barriers. We have the big Cordillera de los Andes from Panama to almost Tierra del Fuego, divide the continent into the Amazonas, the jungles, the highlands like Bolivia or the Andes, the Peruvian high like Cusco. Fascinating places of very ancient traditions are, and very sophisticated in their culture from those times, and they are very happy with that. I'm very proud. Let's say sometimes people don't understand why the president of Bolivia, Evo Morales, or the former president Humala go to Tiahuanaco or speak about the Tiwantisuyo and pray to the gods for success or for. But that's because it looks fairly new countries. There's a very old and ancient culture that's very deep inside of the people here in Latin America. I will now give you some tips I think that could be interesting when you're doing business here. There are certain social factors that could differ what you have here, you in Europe or Asia or North America or other places in the world. For us, I will speak as a Latin American, relationships are very much in the family area and the close friends. As an example, let's say in America, usually kids after high school go to universities apart from their homes and go then to colleges and universities, and they have their own life. Here in Latin America, families are very tight, and usually kids stay until they get married in the house. So usually they go from the house to when they have their own house. But usually people stay in the same neighborhood, stay in the same city, go to the university in the same places. So the relations they do are very around the families and the neighborhood, or under their father's industry or whatever. And that's very strong, coming probably from the times of ancient cultures, clans or tribes, and also the religious. The Catholic religion has, for Catholics, the importance of the family, it's really something very special. And face-to-face business. And think always in this hierarchical structure I told you, coming from ancient cultures and from the Spaniards, are still there. Let's say you have to try to find, when you're doing business, where's your niche, who are the partner you have, what connections they have, because you need that to make a business. You need to know who is who, as I told you before, and still there are some things you have to know: how you wear, what you wear, how you go to a meeting, how you speak, the color of your skin, the way. It's important here. I know in other more sophisticated or first world countries that's not important at all. But here, this is something important. How physical looks, clothing, how well educated you are, and in a way, we are not, let's say, maybe I've lived in some Arab countries and in the Far East, and I've lived in Europe also, or in the States. Here, you cannot go, as a New Yorker would say, straight to the point. I wouldn't say that's not acceptable, but that could be considered rude. Usually in this part of the world, we talk about many things, about sports, about families, about the country, and then we approach slowly to what we're trying to do in a business. Mainly in the first part, even you cannot even talk, or you can spend the whole lunch talking about different things, and the last, when you're in the coffee, probably will raise the point. But don't try to make in one meeting the whole business. That will not happen here. It's like the Asian culture. They have to know you. They have to rely on you and to have confidence in you. And that means time. Some tips for personal characteristics in slide number 8. I would say sometimes people say Latin Americans don't respect time. And that's in a way true. We say yes, around 1400 hours, let's say this meeting. Yes, could be 1405, 1415, or 1430. That's not a big deal for us, let's say. So you have to have that in mind. It's not we don't have respect, or the people is not respect the customer or the people who are doing business. It's a way we are more relaxed in a way. In a way, it's more being than doing things. The primary thing is to have personal relations. Sometimes people don't understand why we kiss each other, or we embrace, or we touch. That's a sign of friendship. It's not a sign of being disrespectful, or a sign of being, let's say, that could be you in another culture accused of abuse or something like that. No, here in this Latin America, we shake hands, we take by the elbow, or we kiss the ladies. It's nothing sexual harassment or nothing like that. Of course, in many countries that you have a sort, when you're in a business, let's say, meeting, you go very formal. But at the end, what you will try is to establish a certain friendship. And friendship have manifestations, like touching, like kissing, like being very close to the other. One of the things I can highlight from other countries, such as the British or whatever, they don't touch each other. They don't get in close to each other. It's not that people in Latin America are disrespectful. It's culture. It's nothing like that. And also, on the last point, planning versus spontaneity. Yes, plans are important, very important, and we realize that. But in our culture, spontaneity, it's also important. Let's say to be flexible, to be prepared for because here things happen. Let's say changes of government, let's say disasters such as earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanoes, landslides. So you have to be prepared for the unexpected in a way. So sometimes that's difficult to understand from the Latins. Let's say, I remember living in Europe when they say, which are going to be your vacations in June? And in January, I was asked to plan and say the exact date. Here, that doesn't happen. You have to cope with that. Let's say, I don't know what's going on. Well, now I'm an American company, but let's say for a normal Chilean company, nobody knows what's going to happen in the next month. It's not they are not looking for the long-term planning, but to know exactly what's going to happen, that it's not the raison d'etre. That's not there. So be patient with that. Now we'll go to slide number 19. Just to give you some ideas on customs and courtesies. If you are an American, you have to keep in mind we have our, let's say, meetings, or we have our most important decisions around the table. It's not in an office. It's usually around a meal. And in a way, you can expect during the long days, be prepared that we work from, let's say, from the early morning, and you'll have only lunch around 2 to 3 p.m. So have something, as we say, un algo merienda. That's mean have a snack before, because otherwise you will die in a way. You will starve. But when you have these meals at midday or 2 or 3 p.m., you have a very good lunch. Here we are not used to have sandwiches or salad or fast food. So it's a normal, probably coming from the Spaniards, from the French. We'll have a real meal with a main course and a dessert or whatever. So it's tables are for socializing in a way. When you go to another place or to a customer home or somebody important, take a small courtesy thing. Let's say a flower or chocolates. And consider here in Chile, for example, we have very good and quality wine. So if you know your customer or where you're visiting, he could be a very good expert on wine. So don't buy cheap wines. We have good wines, and bring some good wines to the country. And if you go there to Peru or to Colombia, they have their own liquors, and they know about the subject. In Mexico, Latin America, the usual big business greeting is, of course, it's a handshake. But you have to look to the other guy. It's not offensive as it's in other parts of the world. To look at the eyes, it's nothing offensive. It's a friend of being sincere, being straight, being able to speak to the other guy. So consider that only. As I say, some ladies from the U.S. in a way they feel that there's a sort of social attack when you kiss a lady for the first time or whatever. You give 2 kisses. It's nothing like that. It's a sign of friendship. It's a sign of being friendly. So consider that when you are here in this part of the world. And now I'll go for a couple of charts. These sorts of these charts are in the World Bank indicators. Gini, it's gross national income, and PPP, it's a purchasing power parity. And why I bring this up? It's because there are certain inequalities, of course, in our continent. It's a new continent. As I told you, very hierarchical. Landowners come from the times of the conquistadores. They have very powerful connections. Names and family names are, in all countries, some of them very well respected because of the power they have in the country. Names of lawyers, of militaries, or politicians, they are in the mind of the people. So So that makes sometimes a society very unequal. And we are fighting with that, let's say, for a more equal society, because inequality can raise riots or can raise instability. And that's why I bring this into this webinar. The countries who are, let's say, you have in a sort of gray the Gini coefficient and the income with the red bar. The countries who are more, let's say, developed or have more purchasing power parity in this slide, it's Chile, Argentina, Uruguay. And on the gray, it's the Gini coefficient. That takes into account the education, the inequalities, and the access to different type of income or purchasing things. You know, as you let's say raise or down the gray, more equal is the country, more let's say more stable. Inequality brings instability. And how to this let's say Argentina, Uruguay, now Colombia, Peru, who are doing quite a lot of business in order, or quite a lot of efforts in order to diminish this inequality. And it's a big thing on this part of on this continent. When you see this chart I show you, we might divide Latin America into groups of countries. Compared to the U.S., considering the U.S. income, in number one you have El Salvador, Guatemala, Colombia, Peru, among others. It's they are in the middle. The middle of the countries who are, let's say, considering purchasing power parity, the ability to buy things with the same amount of money, let's say, or the same currency. In the second group, they are very poor. They have, let's say, 10% of less of the income per capita from the U.S. And these countries are Haiti, Nicaragua, Bolivia, and Paraguay. And the group number three with the higher income, and they have more than 20% of the U.S. And you can see Panama, Dominican Republic, Mexico, and Chile. And that's because these countries are trying very hard to enlarge their international trade and become more and more involved in, let's say, market society. I will go back to the chart number 20, and you will see more than, it's around 38% in the case of Chile, and let's say less than 10% Haiti, compared to the capabilities of purchasing parity of the U.S. So consider that when you are doing business here. And I have this chart of democratization index, and I think why we're now in slide number 20. Why I put this as important? Because if you see the chart from 1970 to around 1983, 95, or 85, they were mainly military governments, very strong military governments. You have to remember at this time there was the Cold War, insurrection, and so on. So militaries were very important, and at that time business was easy in a way, let's say, because there were orders, very straight way of doing things. But from the 90s up to now, our continent has been more and more democratic. Elections, free elections, and president with rotation, with certain support of different parties, a normal democratic society. And even in the past, it was in a way easier to make business. In this time, you have, let's say, the support of the people. So when you do business in a democratic society, it's much easier to agree with the people wants. No, let's say it's not easy. It's more bureaucratic sometimes because you have to take into account many positions as in any society. But it will last for long. You will have the back of the society when you do business here. So fortunately, we are now in a democratic era and will stay there almost forever, or sort of government like that. In slide number 23, doing business in Latin America, it's not easy. It's not straightforward. You don't have let's say, a common law for everyone, like in Europe or the UAU or the US or other countries around the world. You have to deal with the bureaucracy of each country. And it takes some. Some countries are much open than others. So don't take, let's say, the example of Chile would be the same of Ecuador, or Ecuador in Bolivia, or Bolivia, Peru, or Argentina. Different. You have to check about how the protection of your investment. There are laws in different countries. There are different laws. Check about the exchange rates. Check about how you can take your money out or in the country. Check what the restrictions on costumes. Every country is different. So take as an advice local partners. They know how to deal. And when you come here for the first time, don't think that you bring all your knowledge and the knowledge of how your government do things, because here it's different. It's not better or worse. It's different, and you have to consider that and be patient. Be patient. Now, sometimes people think that the let's say less developed countries in Latin America are because they have so many barriers of entry, and that could be a reason. So see how well connected they are to the rest of the world. My country, Chile, here, for example, we have connections with all. We are members of APEC. We have a free trade agreement with the European Union, a free trade agreement with the US. So we are very, not in every country is the same. There's a lot of nationalism in certain countries, a lot of barriers entry. So, but that's the way it is, and you have to live with that and try to understand and try to make business with local allies, with good connections, and all the tips I've given to you before. It's how, let's say, how the markets are on Latin America countries. This is how easy it's to do business. Consider the US, let's say, and Canada, the most easy ways of doing business in the world rankings of 2013, up to Venezuela at the moment, and Haiti and Bolivia. They have big barriers of entry, and you can see it and you can study it then afterwards. But there it is. And finally, I would say a slogan that has given good results to us: under promise or over deliver. One, it's what the meaning of this. There's a tendency to perceive that what comes from abroad should be the perfect solution for Latin American needs. People in Latin America said, if let's say European, a French, an Italian, or American, or Chinese come here, they will bring the solution for all our problems. And of course, there's a big expectations of this businessman who is coming to do business with us. But be careful on that, because sometimes people from the country, from their home country, have big expectations, and they are at the end disappointed because they have in their minds that this was the perfect solution, and for any reason, let's say, it didn't work or had some problems. The best thing is to be realistic. You say, well, you will give you this product, consider this as, but we need, let's say, the support of your people. We can have problems here or there. If things go so right, we'll have this, but could be wrong. So be realistic. Sometimes, in order to make business, people tend to make promises. They're impossible to deliver. Let's say because there are many things involved: timings, distances, customs, bureaucracy, laws. So be realistic. Be realistic when you promise something here in this country. Don't make illusions for the customer. Don't make them think that you are the promise and you will be deliver what it's really needed and a perfect solution. Well, my friends, and thank you for listening to this old man from Santiago. Please feel free at any time to contact through UFI. I'm one of your members, and I would love to know about cultures in the rest of the world. And I think culture is very important, and that was my main message. Thank you very much.